A few years ago at a new job, I was invited to this key meeting by my new line manager. A part of me was excited, and the other part anxious. All the nice seats in the room were taken. You know, the nice at the back of the room, they were all taken. The only remaining ones were at the front. A heated discussion ensued, and I could only think about one thing. I hope he doesn't ask my view about this big topic that was being discussed. My concern was, will my answer sound sharp enough, or will it come off naive? You see, I was new, and I did not want to toy with the idea that perhaps introduce a thought that he did not make the right hire. Have you ever been in a situation where you're new and you almost have this internal pressure to want to prove yourself almost immediately? Before I joined Microsoft, my current employer, where I lead the software engineering hub in Africa as the managing director, I had 10 different jobs and in different industries. And all this time, I've interacted with a beginner's mindset all through. Today, I want to talk about adopting and embracing a beginner's mindset, and specifically, just showcase the beauty of not knowing. Common myths that we are told about a beginner. We're told beginners ask many questions. Matter of fact, those questions are not only many, they sound naive or silly. And in a team setting, we're told beginners are a burden. But when I look back at the 10 different jobs, when I've been a beginner, I've learned much more. And I'll share this in the form of a love letter to a younger Catherine. Dear Catherine, I remember when I completed university, so excited. I had the degree in hand, computer science. On one part, excited, on this other side, full of anxiety. Excited that I was done with the calculus and the long hours, but anxious. Where will I find a job? I needed a job so badly because I needed to start paying my own bills. I sent numerous job applications. And one thing I remember distinctly is constantly refreshing my inbox. Because I remember the loud silence, no response, no failed deliveries. But something started to happen. I remember the beautifully worded regret letters. I remember the beautifully worded regret responses. And for a minute there, I wondered, did they regret my application, or are they rejecting me? After many months, because I was anxious about getting a job, I remember going back to a company that I had interned when I was a third-year student. And to my surprise, they gave me a job. My first role in this organization, I was a service desk agent. I would answer close to 300 calls in a day. I remember at times I would be home. My own phone would ring. Yeah, you guessed it right. I would answer using the same script like in the call with the same script for 300 times. You can only imagine. Many months I agonized. Did I study all that calculus to pick calls? But one day over lunchtime, I mustered courage to ask my line manager, why this role? Yet I was so qualified in my own view. She told me something interesting. She told me, you see, Catherine, you're yet to be formed. You're yet to understand how to communicate in a business setting. How do you answer calls in a business setting? You're fresh from school. How do you respond to emails? How do you respond to official formal letters or written letters? That was what she told me was a key lesson in that service desk role. You see, Catherine, as much as I was grateful for the job, I had many questions, but I mustered the courage to ask them. and I learned much more. Still as early in career, I remember I joined the largest beer manufacturing entity in East Africa. They were very thorough in the induction. It took close to 1 year. And I remember going through the motions of visiting the brewery, where they convert the raw material to that liquid that brings people joy. I'd also visit the glass manufacturing plant. And finally, the pub, where we'll interact with customers as they enjoyed the very product that was being manufactured. I had many questions, and key among them was, how come some beer was packaged in a brown bottle, some in a green bottle, and others in clear? Again, I only mustered courage in the pub. I asked my line manager, who also accompanied us in this trip, and she opened my eyes to just understanding things to do with product placement, how some alcohol is placed at lower shelves and others high, and even just explaining to me the whole manufacturing journey and to my appreciation of just-in-time manufacturing. You see, Catherine, again, it was very easy and tempting not to ask a silly, naive question. But look what happened. I learned much more than the different colors of bottles and their usage in this setup. As the years went by, in mid-level career, I was very excited. This was my first managerial role. Back at the university, I always used to dream that one day I would love to lead people. One of the myths that I had been told, that as a manager, you need to appear the part, you look the part, project confidence. And that's exactly what I did. I joined one of the largest airlines in East Africa. Guess what I met in various meetings? It started off as a hill of acronyms. Then it grew to a mountain. I'll give you an example. I'd be in a meeting out here, OCC is down. I'm like, ay, sasa hizo ni gani tena? What is that now? BRS, Charlie, Tango, whiskey. And I would wonder, I thought I left whiskey at the brewery. Because I was told to project confidence, in these meetings, I would always show up with a notebook. And I would feel furiously write OCC BRS, as much as I didn't understand. When the pretense wore off, I reached out to a colleague. And I asked her, please explain all these things to me and share with me the context. What started off as a query on acronyms, it then grew to daily catch-ups over a cup of tea, where I not only learned about acronyms, I learned about the company culture. You know, the real lived culture, away from the company beautifully worded artifacts. I was learning the lived culture. I also learned something else, where power and influence was found. My colleague taught me that it was not always the senior-most who had power. They had the title, but not always the power. I learned all this courtesy of mastering the courage to ask about acronyms. Catherine, as the years went by, I felt ready now to step into the C-suite. And if I thought that there was pressure to appear formed as a first-time manager, the pressure was exacerbated at the C-suite level. Here, the expectation is to project confidence, to appear as a walking sage. You give answers. You speak confidently. As my career grew, I was now ready to step into the C-suite roles. I remember going through competitive interview process, and I emerged the top candidate. I joined a regional bank in East Africa, reporting directly to the chief executive officer. Catherine, I thought the managerial role, I needed to project confidence and appear formed. Oh, Catherine. It was even worse or more exacerbated at the C-suite level role. In this role, I was on a 6-month probation. And on the 3rd month, particular dashboard for one department I was in charge of did not look good. I pondered and wondered, what do I do? Because I remembered on one hand, I projected this image during the interview process. But here I was struggling with one department. And I was also chasing to be after 6 months. Catherine, I remember I reached out to my boss's administrator, who used to manage his calendar. I secured a meeting on purpose at the end of the day and intentionally asked that the meeting is not in his office. I did this on purpose because I was about to share this news that I was struggling to understand this department and know what to do. The very thing he had hired me to do. As I walk into this meeting room, tucked in a corner, because I avoided his office, because I remembered people were fond of coming in to say, a quick one, boss, a quick one. I didn't want that. I walk into this meeting room. He came in early. I remember as I settled on my seat, he was just stirring his hot cup of tea. As I sat down and began to talk, I couldn't lift my gaze past the smoke that was just going up gently from his cup of tea. As I shared that, boss, I'm struggling in this area. Once I finished to download those words, I shifted my gaze from the cup of tea to his eyes and waited for his response. Will he say, you're fired? His response shocked me pleasantly. He told me, Catherine, I'm happy you came with your notebook. Let me take you through what you need to focus on for the next 3 months. You see, Catherine, that exercise taught me that as much as I was so scared, I needed the job, full of anxiety. This relationship moved from being shown what to do with this department to a mentorship relationship, and to one that has continued to guide me on how I lead people to date. Catherine, still in leadership, I told you I was told to show up, project confidence. I struggled in another area. You see, as a leader, you ought to constantly communicate your vision. Where are you taking the department? What goals will be measured? Catherine, I had the knowledge. I had depth in the technical area, but I was very low in public speaking skills, communication skills, specifically articulation, stage presence, and my diction, Catherine. I mastered courage to be a beginner again. I joined a local public speaking club, and to my amazement, Catherine, I found that 90% of the club members were much younger than me. In this beginner's moment, I met a different type of sage. Not the C-suite sage I had been told, but a younger sage. I sat at their feet. I would show up in my nicely tailored suits from the bank. I would sit at their feet and imbibe from this skill set that they had that I so badly desired. You see, Catherine, I would have missed an opportunity if I decided, surely what can a young person teach me? But I chose differently. Catherine, as I look back, I now realize that embracing a beginner's mindset is such a critical ingredient in growing in resilience and also success in career. So Catherine, as you step into the job market and start your career, whichever way it takes you, whichever industry it takes you, when you feel that fear creeping up on you, take note of it. But at the same time, lean in a bit and ask. Be a bit curious. Ask the question. Because you never know, like I did. I learned about product placement. I learned about just-in-time manufacturing. I learned about communication, public speaking, and many others that I've mentioned. And I opened up doors, creating numerous relationships on the way. Catherine, you will realize, in a nutshell, that showing up with a beginner's mindset will turn out to be your superpower. Thank you.